Hello, this is Tyrus Steinman, and I'm going to be playing Kerbal Space Program for you today. Currently, I have the most up-to-date Steam version. I'm playing this right through Steam right now. This is completely vanilla. There's no mods. I think that vanilla versions tend to force you to be a little more creative in your builds, rather than having one of my favorite mods, which is the procedural parts, where you can actually make whatever part you want, whatever size or diameter or anything like that. So I'm going to be playing vanilla, and we're going to play through a career mode. I'm just going to go in, I'm going to pause the recording and just create the career mode for us today, and I'm going to go through all this stuff and set it up, and I'll be right back at the main screen for the actual game. Okay, and we're back. Alright, so I just loaded it in, and I built the career mode. Kept it on normal with a couple custom settings. Just added in a little more difficulty with plasma blackout and stuff like that. So here we go. We are gonna go to our mission control and get our first contracts. I usually do the first and fourth one, because our goal is ultimately to orbit before we do anything else. And we'll go from there. My goal really is to try to most effectively gather as much science as possible before launching. This way I just don't miss anything, and I can efficiently get all the science data out there. Alright, so this is our Moho capsule. We don't really have to add anything. Our next round, our next version of this will be when we start to add the goo containers and all that. But for now, we'll just leave it at just that. Now you're going to see me, I'm going to get my crew report real fast, and I'm going to get the EVA report on the launch pad real fast. And then what I'm going to do is I'll show you where I'm going to go. Come on, EVA report, there we go. Board that, so I have both of those. Yep. And then I'm going to go over, zoom out here. Just off of here, you can get the EVA report from KSA, and then I'm going to go over to the crawler way and get an EVA report there. And then I'll recover the vehicle, and I'll see you back in the VA, or actually I'll see you back in the R&D center, so that we can get some science, or get some nodes unlocked and get some new parts. So I'm going to pause the recording, I'll be right back. Hello again, we're back here at the R&D center. I was able to get about 10.7 bits of science, and my strategy usually in the beginning, because we have this little flea solid booster, we can get up in the air and get some more science, get at least 5 science to unlock basic rocketry at any time. So I usually take this route as far as I can get it before actually launching. So we're going to do Engineering 101, and that's going to give us the thermometer, which is more science, and a stacked coupler, and a communitron, 2 communitrons, but we don't really need to worry about communication yet. We only really need to worry about gathering as much science as we can. So this is where I'm going to put the goo containers on. We're going to go back here to the Moho capsule. Yep. And so we're going to go to science, mystery goo container, and we're going to do 2 symmetry there. I like turning it sideways, using the offset tool and taking the snap toggle off, and you can just smoothly bring it in there, and it makes it look pretty nice. Kind of hides them away, makes them look a little more aerodynamic. I hate it when the capsules are just sort of sitting off to the side. It's pretty ugly. Now I'm going to do roughly the same thing here for the thermometer. You can see how it sticks out a little bit there. I really don't like that. So what I'm going to do is again go back to that toggle snap, which is number 2 hotkey. You can do number 2, you click, and it brings up these guys, take that toggle snap off, and it'll just slide in there just enough so that you can still select it, which I can. Cool, looks a little more aerodynamic. Actually, I'm going to bring that out a little bit because it looks a little funny. There we go, so you can still see the thermometer, but it's a little more aerodynamic, prettier looking, in my opinion. Alright, so we're going to save the Moho capsule now, and we're going to send it back on out to the launch pad, and we're going to I'm not going to record it, I'm just going to go in, I'm going to get the science data here, I'm going to get the science data from this, and then I'm going to recover the vessel, and we're going to press on. And we're back. I only got, about 6 bits of science, which brought me up to 11. I need 15 to get to the next node that I want for more science right here, survivability. And a good little trick for those of you that don't know, a good way to get a few extra bits of science are to head over to the runway and use and load up the craft that you had in the VAB. Make sure that you sometimes it loads in a little funny, but make sure that you flip it up the right direction, otherwise it's just gonna there we go. Otherwise it's just gonna load in and fall on its side because it wants to orientate itself like a ship. Oh, I hate that flag. Let's toggle that off. Okay, so now that we're in the SPH, Spaceplane Hangar, we're gonna launch it, and doing that here gets you a whole new array of science points, same amount as the launch pad. So what I'm going to do is just going to go through and collect all the science and do the EVA report just like before, and it should get us enough science that we can get that next node and get some more parts that can be used, and try to max out the amount of science that we get before we start flying into the air. That way we don't have to come back and do little minute missions in between flights and all that. So we're going to recover the vessel. It shouldn't take too long, and we will head over to the R&D center to unlock that node. Perfect, we have about 21 science, and it actually gives me a little decision here, because before upgrading the VAB, these are really handy to be able to make solid fuel ships that can actually go into space and gather more science. But I think I'm going to go with the barometer, so that way when we do start flying I can use that. Yeah, I'm gonna go with survivability and get that unlocked first. Alright, so now we're gonna go to the VAB. We're going to do one more quick little mission onto the launch pad to make sure we get the barometer taken care of. See, the big issue here early game in career mode is that you don't want to have a lot of parts on your vessel because you're limited on the amount of parts that you can actually use. Down here it actually tells you I only have 30 parts. When I start trying to go to orbit, this is going to be huge. But I'll be able to modify and make an actual orbital vessel that doesn't have all this science gear on it, because I will have already gathered the science for it. So I'm going to do the same thing here, and this is just ugly having that box sticking on the end, so I'm just going to recess that back in. So it still sort of looks like a scientific instrument. It doesn't stick off, and it's not so ugly. Alright, so like I said, I'm going to do one quick mission, gather the science data from the barometer, and then we'll be back in here to build our first launch. I will be right back. Alright, so that got me about 3.5 bits of science. Not nearly enough to unlock the next node I want to get to, which if I can start getting automated flights, that would be great, because then I don't run the risk of killing my Kerbals, who are incredibly expensive for career mode. But right now, right now my main goal is to try to be able to upgrade these guys, and I need a lot of money to do that. I can upgrade this one right now, but I don't need to yet. I want to save this money for any faulty missions or anything that goes wrong. But first I'm going to come in here and get this contract underway, sign this contract. And we're going to go in and build our first launch using that fleet. So the idea of this is to gather as much science as I can on the launch. And I'll probably land in the water, and I won't gather any science from the water yet. But we will we'll be able to go back to the water later. We're going to do several small little launches into the water before heading out. And I can gather if I get more science modules later, I can just latch those onto any rocket and send them up, gather the data, and send it back. It will be good. So first, in order to do this, we're going to need our decoupler. We're not going to be going very high, so we don't need any of our survivability parts like heat shields or anything like that. We should be good there. We're definitely going to need a parachute. And this one parachute will be plenty for this capsule. It's not too heavy. 1.1 metric tons. Pretty heavy, but not heavy enough for that parachute. Alright, so when we come in here to this engine, I'm going to throw this guy on. And I'm just going to call this Moho Vessel or Vehicle. I'm not too picky on my names, so we're going to save that. And here we go. So I don't have any action groups, so I'm going to have to do all this manually, and I'll show you a little trick to make it easier later. But first, I don't want to launch off with a ton of thrust. I kind of want to be a little more controlled in my ascent here, because I don't want to just be flying off and create a lot of heat, because this isn't really designed to handle heat. So we have 2.6 tons, multiply that by around 9 meters per second squared, and it's about 26 newtons of weight for this whole vessel. This thing is applying 163 newtons at sea level. That is massive. It's way more than we need. So what I like to do is reduce the thrust down, and this is 163. 163. We're doing 26. I mean, it's about a seventh. 26 is a little less than a seventh of that. So we can bring this right down to, sorry, not a seventh, a sixth. But we can bring this right down to 30%, and that'll be more than enough thrust to get us off the ground and stay controlled. We also don't need to go as high as you think, so we're not even gonna launch. I'm just gonna take a lot of the fuel out, about half of it, and we'll go from there. So we'll save that and fix our staging. Remember to always fix your staging. Save again and launch. Now this is Jebediah's first launch, and it's going to give him some experience. I'll be swapping between Jebediah and Valentina to try to build experience as we go along. Alright, so we are all set. We have our resource panel up. Everything looks good. Jebediah is good. SAS engaged. We won't need to worry about this, but it's always habit to go up there. Alright, and we're going to launch. 3, 2, 1. So we are flying. And as we're going, I could have gotten this all set up and ready to go before our launch. I'll show you what I mean by that on our next one. But it's just as easy to go through here. Sometimes you need to have engage all these really quickly, so it's better to bring the panels up and pin them like this so that they stay up anywhere you click. And I'll show you that. So I've gotten all my data. We're at the top of our arc. I'm going to check out. And fast forward, and we're going to make our descent down into the ocean. And I'll see you guys. I'll just recover the vehicle, and I'll see you guys when we get back in. Alright, that got us about 31 science, 49 total, and that gives us some options in our science nodes coming up. We got all kinds of funds. With those funds, I'm just going to upgrade this launch pad because I'm going to need to anyway, because my vessel is going to get pretty heavy here really quick when I start trying to go to orbit, and I have plenty of money to fund some launches. So R&D. Now, in order to start doing my automated flights, yes, we can get this Science Junior, but I hate using the Science Junior, even though it gives you huge science. I'll use that later when the contracts start calling for Science Juniors to be out on satellites. I'm not worried about it right now. But in order to do the automated flights, we're going to need this inline reaction wheel, because this Stay Putnik has It has no SAS ability, but it does have command ability where you have remote pilot assistance, but it has no SAS built into it. So in order to use this, we need an SAS modulating wheel in order or to control any spacecraft remotely. So the goal is to try to unlock these 2 items. But which one of these 2 items will be most beneficial for me now? It's hard to say. Part of me wants to unlock this first, and then unlock this guy right here, but I could probably get up at least to the upper atmosphere only using the fleas if I have just this. So I'm gonna unlock this, save my science to try to unlock maybe general construction, or we can do basic science, or we can go here as well, or we can start trying to do airplanes, or I can use these airplane parts to make carts which can go around the space center, and we can harvest a ton of science points that way, which is probably the path I'm going to go because I want to make this as exciting as possible, and in order to be more exciting I have to get science and unlock parts. So I think I'm going to call that my first video here, call that the end of this video, and we'll come back on the next video and we'll start building some more complex aircraft using the flea boosters and tying them together with these radial decouplers. And when we tie them together, we'll be able to get to higher locations in Kerbin and get more science. So this is Tyler Simon. Thank you for watching.